Rena was a curious and bright girl who lived in a small house on the edge of a busy city. Her mother, Mira, worked as a maid in different homes every day. She cleaned floors, washed dishes, and did many chores for people who had large houses and expensive furniture. Even though life was not easy, Mira always smiled and encouraged Rena to study and dream. She believed that one day, her daughter could achieve great things. Every morning, Rena woke up early to help her mother. She swept the small yard, watered the few plants they had, and helped prepare breakfast. She enjoyed these tasks because they gave her a sense of responsibility. But as soon as the chores were done, she would rush to her small room filled with books, notebooks, and puzzles. Reading and thinking were her favorite things in the world. She loved solving problems and imagining new ideas. Rena's school was not very large, and the classrooms were often crowded. But the teachers noticed her intelligence and her unique way of thinking. While other children memorized answers, Rena tried to understand why things happened and how they could be solved in different ways. She liked asking questions and never gave up until she found answers that made sense to her. One sunny afternoon, while Rena was eating her lunch, she heard news on the small television in the corner of the kitchen. The news anchor was speaking quickly, her voice full of excitement. A huge company had just built a supercomputer worth $500 million. It was the most powerful computer in the world. The news said that this computer could solve problems faster than any human, and that nobody had ever beaten it. Rena paused, her eyes wide. She could not stop thinking about it. She imagined a giant machine, lights blinking, numbers moving so fast that no human could ever keep up. But inside her, a spark of curiosity grew. She thought, maybe I can find a way to challenge it. Maybe I can outthink it. After school, Rena went to her favorite spot near a small park. She sat on the bench with her notebook and began writing down ideas. She drew diagrams, practiced puzzles, and tried to imagine the computer's way of thinking. She asked herself questions like, how would it solve this puzzle? What could it miss? Can I think differently than a machine? She smiled to herself as she solved a few tricky problems, feeling proud of her cleverness. Even her friends noticed something different about her. While they played games or watched cartoons, Rena spent her free time practicing her thinking. Some laughed at her, calling her a little dreamer, but Rena did not mind. She had a goal and was determined to reach it. Her mother, Mira, watched her quietly. She understood that Rena's mind was special and needed space to grow. She never forced her to play like other children. Instead, she encouraged her and told her, Rena, your mind is your greatest treasure. Keep it sharp and kind. The next day, Rena found articles online about the supercomputer. She learned that it could calculate millions of numbers in a second, analyze patterns, and even learn from its mistakes. People said it was unbeatable and that no human could ever compete. Instead of feeling afraid or small, Rena felt excited. This challenge seemed impossible, and that made it even more interesting to her. She began preparing in her own way. She created her own practice puzzles and imagined situations where a human could think in ways a machine could not. She asked her teachers for guidance on logic and reasoning. Every day she spent hours thinking, writing, and practicing. Her determination grew stronger, and she felt ready for any challenge that might come her way. At night, Rena sat by the window looking at the stars. She whispered softly to herself, I will try. I will do my best. Even a big machine cannot match the power of careful thinking and creativity. She fell asleep with a smile, dreaming of puzzles, computers, and the exciting challenge that awaited her. Rena did not know yet that this simple curiosity, combined with her dedication and imagination, would soon lead her to an opportunity that could change her life forever. From a small home and a quiet neighborhood, she was beginning a journey that would test her mind, her patience, and her courage in ways she had never imagined. The next morning, Rena woke up early as usual. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today, she decided, she would focus on learning everything she could about the supercomputer. She wanted to understand how it worked, what it could do, and how a human mind could think differently. After helping her mother with the morning chores, Rena opened her notebook and began writing questions. She wanted to know how the computer solved problems, how it learned new things, and how fast it could calculate numbers. She also thought about how people solved puzzles and challenges differently. She realized that while the computer followed rules perfectly, humans could notice patterns and connections that machines might miss. Rena's best friend, Mina, came to visit her that afternoon. Mina was curious but not very interested in puzzles. She often asked Rena why she spent so much time thinking and practicing. "Why don't you just play like everyone else?" Mina asked, sitting on the floor with a small toy in her hand. Rena smiled and replied, "I want to try something big, something exciting. There is a supercomputer that no one can beat. I think I can find a way to challenge it." Mina looked doubtful but listened carefully. Rena explained how she was creating her own practice puzzles, imagining ways a human could solve problems differently from a machine. After Mina left, Rena returned to her notebook. She created different types of puzzles, some with numbers, some with words, and some that required careful observation. She practiced solving them in ways that computers might not expect. She noticed small details and patterns that computers could easily overlook. Each time she solved a puzzle, she felt a little more confident. In the following days, Rena visited the local library. She read books about logic, reasoning, and problem-solving. She learned about famous scientists and thinkers who had solved difficult problems in creative ways. She wrote down important ideas and tried to use them in her own puzzles. The library became her secret place of discovery. While other children played outside, Rena sat quietly among the shelves, learning and imagining. One evening, Rena's mother noticed how focused her daughter had become. Mira quietly placed a cup of tea beside her and said, "Rena, you are working so hard. Remember, it is okay to take breaks too. Your mind works best when it is rested." Rena nodded and thanked her mother. She knew that her mother's support was important, and it gave her even more motivation to try her best. A week later, a letter arrived at Rena's home. It was from the company that had built the supercomputer. They were announcing a public challenge. Anyone could submit their solutions to puzzles and questions, and the winner would get recognition and a special reward from the CEO. Rena's heart raced as she read the letter. This was her chance. She knew she had to prepare carefully. Rena spent every free moment practicing. She imagined the computer's calculations and tried to find ways to think differently. She solved puzzles quickly and then tried them again in a new way. She challenged herself to notice patterns that others might not see. Each day her confidence grew. She could feel that she was ready for the challenge, but she also knew that she must stay calm and focused. On the night before the challenge, Rena sat by the window, looking at the moonlight. She whispered to herself, "Tomorrow is the day. I will do my best. I will think carefully and stay calm. I want to show that humans can think in amazing ways too." She felt both nervous and excited, but mostly she felt ready. She closed her eyes and imagined herself solving the puzzles step by step, with clear thinking and careful attention. Rena knew that this challenge was more than just about winning. It was a chance to test her mind, to see if her curiosity, creativity, and careful thinking could compete with the fastest computer in the world. She fell asleep with a smile, dreaming of numbers, patterns, and the exciting challenge that awaited her the next day. The small home, the quiet streets, and the little room filled with books had all prepared Rena for this moment. She was not just a curious girl anymore. She was ready to face a challenge that could change her life and show the world the power of a human mind. The day of the challenge finally arrived, and Rena woke up with a mixture of excitement and nerves. She had prepared for weeks, but the thought of facing the world's most powerful computer made her heart race. After helping her mother with the morning chores, she put on her favorite simple dress and packed her notebook, pencils, and a small water bottle. Her mother, Mira, smiled at her with pride. "Rena, remember to stay calm and think clearly," she said softly. "No matter what happens, I am proud of you." Rena nodded and hugged her mother tightly. She felt a warm strength from her mother's words, and it gave her confidence as she stepped out into the busy streets. The challenge was held in a large hall with high ceilings and bright lights. People from all over the city had come to watch. There were journalists with cameras, students with notebooks, and even engineers who worked in technology companies. In the center of the hall stood the supercomputer. Its size was impressive, with many blinking lights and screens showing numbers moving too fast for anyone to read. Rena's eyes widened as she looked at it. She felt a little nervous, but she also felt a spark of excitement. This was the moment she had been preparing for. She walked carefully to her seat, holding her notebook tightly. Around her, other participants were setting up their materials. Some were older, some were students like her, but everyone seemed serious. At the front of the hall, the CEO of the company, Mr. Malik, stood beside the supercomputer. He was a tall man in a black suit with a serious expression. He looked at the audience and spoke clearly. "Welcome to the challenge. Today we will test the world's most powerful computer against human minds. Each participant will try to solve puzzles and problems. The supercomputer will also give its answers. Let's see who can solve them better." The first puzzle appeared on the big screen. It was a complicated pattern puzzle with numbers and shapes. Rena stared at it carefully. She took a deep breath and began to think. She remembered all her practice and the strategies she had worked on for weeks. She wrote notes in her notebook and checked her ideas twice. The supercomputer hummed and blinked as it calculated. Its screen filled with numbers faster than anyone could read. People around Rena were whispering, impressed by how fast the computer worked. Some participants tried to solve the puzzle quickly, but Rena stayed calm. She remembered her mother's advice. Thinking clearly is more important than rushing. After a few minutes, it was time to compare answers. The judge announced, "Participant answers first." Rena raised her hand and showed her solution carefully. Then the computer's answer appeared on the screen. A quiet gasp filled the hall. Rena's answer was correct. The computer had given a different result. People turned to look at her in surprise. How could a young girl beat a $500 million computer? Rena stayed calm and smiled politely. She had expected this possibility and had prepared her reasoning carefully. The judges asked her to explain her thought process. She spoke clearly and confidently, showing step by step how she had solved the puzzle. Mr. Malik leaned forward, his serious expression changing to one of curiosity. He watched her closely, listening to each explanation. He had never seen someone approach a problem like this. The audience listened in silence, amazed by her careful thinking and unique ideas. Rena felt a wave of pride and relief. She had faced the computer and solved the first puzzle correctly. She realized that this challenge was not just about winning, but about showing that human creativity and careful thinking could match even the fastest machine. After the first puzzle, the participants prepared for the next one. Rena remained focused. She knew that staying calm and confident was her greatest strength. She took a deep breath, adjusted her notebook, and looked at the next problem with determination. She was ready for whatever came next, knowing that her careful thinking and preparation could take her far. As the hall buzzed with excitement, Rena sat quietly, focused on her notebook. She had taken the first step in a challenge that could change her life. The supercomputer was powerful, but Rena's mind was ready, and she was determined to show the world what careful thinking, creativity, and confidence could achieve. The hall was filled with a quiet tension as the second puzzle appeared on the screen. This one was even more challenging than the first. It was a complex sequence of numbers and shapes that required careful observation and creative thinking. Rena leaned forward, her notebook ready, and studied the puzzle carefully. She remembered all the strategies she had practiced and focused on noticing patterns that might not be obvious. Around her, participants were busy writing quickly, some looking frustrated. The supercomputer began its calculations, blinking rapidly and producing numbers at an incredible speed. Many people were impressed by its power, but Rena stayed calm. She took a deep breath, knowing that rushing could cause mistakes. She carefully worked through the problem step by step, thinking about the relationships between the numbers and shapes. After several minutes, Rena felt confident in her solution. She wrote it down neatly and double-checked each step. The judges then asked each participant to present their answers. When it was Rena's turn, she explained her solution slowly and clearly, showing exactly how she had found the answer. She highlighted patterns that were easy to miss and showed how her approach differed from just following rules blindly. Then the supercomputer's answer appeared on the large screen. The hall fell silent. The result was different from Rena's solution. A wave of surprise moved through the audience. Whispers filled the room as people tried to understand what had happened. How could a young girl have beaten a machine that had been designed to be unbeatable? Mr. Malik, the CEO, leaned forward in his chair. His eyes narrowed slightly, but his curiosity was clear. He had expected the computer to dominate every challenge. Yet here was a child showing a way to solve a puzzle that the computer had missed. He stood up and walked closer, watching Rena as she explained her reasoning in detail. Rena spoke confidently but politely. She pointed out patterns, showed her calculations, and described her thinking process. She demonstrated how noticing details and connecting ideas in a certain way had helped her reach the correct solution. The audience listened closely, impressed by her clarity and creativity. Even the participants who had been working quietly looked amazed and inspired. After she finished, Mr. Malik approached her. His serious expression softened slightly as he said, "Rena, your thinking is remarkable. I have never seen anyone approach problems like this. How did you develop these skills?" Rena smiled shyly and replied, "I practice a lot and I like to observe carefully. I try to think in ways that a machine might not. I like puzzles and problems and I always try to find patterns and connections." The CEO nodded slowly. "You have shown that careful thinking and creativity can be as powerful as speed and calculation. This is an important lesson, not just for the computer but for everyone here." The audience clapped loudly, some standing to show their admiration. Rena felt a warm feeling of pride and happiness. She had not only solved the puzzle but had also shared her way of thinking with others. She realized that the challenge was teaching everyone something important. Intelligence is not just about speed or power, but also about careful observation, creativity, and patience. The next puzzle appeared on the screen and Rena remained focused. She knew the competition was not over, but she had already proven that human thinking could match even the most advanced machine. She took a deep breath, adjusted her notebook, and prepared for the next problem. As the day continued, Rena solved more puzzles successfully, each time showing her unique approach. The supercomputer continued to calculate rapidly, but it had limits. Rena's creativity allowed her to find answers in ways the computer could not predict. The audience grew more and more impressed with her skill, and the whispers of admiration spread throughout the hall. By the end of the second round, it was clear that Rena had made a strong impression. Mr. Malik watched her closely, realizing that this young girl had something extraordinary. Her careful thinking, patience, and creativity had challenged a machine that had been considered unbeatable. The excitement in the hall was palpable, and everyone was eager to see how she would perform in the next rounds. Rena felt a quiet confidence as she prepared for the next challenge. She knew that each puzzle would test her in new ways, but she was ready. She had proven that human intelligence, when combined with careful observation and creativity, could achieve remarkable results. By the time the third puzzle appeared, the hall was buzzing with excitement. Rena had already impressed everyone with her first two solutions, but she knew she could not become overconfident. Each puzzle was different and each required careful thinking and attention. She adjusted her notebook, took a deep breath, and focused on the screen. This puzzle was a combination of numbers, shapes, and words. It required reasoning, observation, and creativity. Many participants looked worried, while the supercomputer blinked rapidly, performing calculations at a speed no human could match. But Rena stayed calm. She remembered everything she had learned during weeks of preparation. She read the puzzle carefully, observing small details that others might miss. Rena noticed a hidden pattern in the shapes and numbers. She quickly sketched her ideas in her notebook, connecting lines and symbols. She paused to double-check her reasoning and made sure every step made sense. While the computer calculated quickly, Rena's solution grew from careful observation and thoughtful strategy rather than speed. When it was time to reveal answers, Rena explained her solution step by step. She described the pattern she had discovered and how she connected different pieces of information. The judges compared her answer to the computer's calculation. Once again, Rena's solution was correct, while the computer's result was slightly off. The audience reacted with amazement. Many could not believe that a young girl had consistently solved puzzles faster and more accurately than a machine that had been considered unbeatable. People whispered to each other, pointing at Rena and nodding with admiration. Even some older participants looked surprised and inspired by her calm, careful approach. Mr. Malik, the CEO, walked closer, his curiosity and admiration growing with every puzzle Rena solved. He had always believed that machines were superior to humans in problem-solving, but Rena was proving him wrong. He realized that the supercomputer was extremely powerful, yet it lacked one important quality: imagination. It could calculate millions of possibilities but could not see patterns in creative ways. After the round, Mr. Malik approached Rena personally. He knelt slightly to meet her eyes. "Rena, your thinking is extraordinary," he said. "You have shown something very important today. A machine is fast, but it cannot think like a human. Your creativity and careful reasoning are impressive. Rena blushed slightly but smiled. Thank you, sir. I practice a lot and I like to think in different ways. I enjoy solving puzzles and looking for patterns that are not always obvious. The CEO nodded, clearly impressed. I would like to learn from you. I want to understand how your mind works and how we can improve our systems by combining human creativity with technology. The audience clapped loudly, and some even stood up to cheer. Rena felt a warm happiness inside her. It was not just about winning a challenge. It was about showing that human intelligence and creativity could make a difference. She realized that her small hours of practice, careful observation, and love for thinking had led her to this incredible moment. After a short break, the next puzzle appeared. Rena stayed focused, knowing that she had to remain patient and careful. She solved the new problem step by step, applying the same method she had used for the previous puzzles. She observed patterns, connected details, and reasoned carefully. Each solution strengthened her confidence. By the end of the round, Rena had solved multiple puzzles successfully, consistently outperforming the supercomputer in areas that required imagination and careful thinking. People in the hall were amazed and inspired. They realized that technology was powerful, but human creativity could achieve things machines could not. That evening, as Rena returned home, her mother greeted her with a proud smile. Rena, you have shown everyone something amazing today, Mira said. I am so proud of you. Rena felt a quiet joy. She knew that this was only the beginning. Her journey had started from a small home, a quiet neighborhood, and simple books and puzzles. But now her mind was reaching far beyond anything she had imagined. Rena went to sleep that night with a sense of achievement and anticipation. She knew the final challenges would be even more difficult, but she felt ready. She had proven that careful thinking, creativity, and patience could match even the most powerful machine in the world. The following morning, Rena woke up feeling both excited and calm. She had performed well in the previous rounds, but she knew the final challenges would be even more difficult. She ate her breakfast quickly and helped her mother with the small chores around the house. Mira smiled at her daughter. Rena, you have worked so hard. Remember, stay patient and think clearly, she said. Rena nodded. She felt ready for the day ahead. When Rena arrived at the hall, the atmosphere was electric. People had gathered from far and wide, eager to see if the young girl could continue outperforming the world's most powerful computer. Cameras were set up, journalists whispered questions to each other, and participants were checking their materials nervously. The supercomputer sat in the center of the hall, lights blinking and screens showing rapid calculations. It seemed calm and mechanical, yet intimidating. Mr. Malik, the CEO, stood at the front of the hall. His eyes searched the audience until they rested on Rena. There was a new expression on his face, a mix of curiosity, admiration, and respect. He cleared his throat and spoke. Today, the challenges will require careful observation, strategy, and creativity. Both humans and the supercomputer will solve the same problems. Let us see what happens. The first puzzle of the day appeared on the large screen. It was a combination of numbers, symbols, and words, designed to test logic and creative thinking. While most participants immediately tried to solve it with speed, Rena paused. She read the puzzle carefully and noticed small details that others overlooked. She began writing notes, connecting ideas, and imagining different possibilities. Minutes passed, and the hall was filled with whispers and the soft hum of the computer working. Some participants grew anxious as the supercomputer displayed its answer quickly, but Rena stayed calm. She checked her solution carefully and made small adjustments to ensure accuracy. When the judges asked for her answer, she explained each step clearly. She described her reasoning, how she found patterns, and why her solution worked. When the supercomputer's answer appeared on the screen, the audience gasped. Once again, Rena's solution was correct, while the machine had made a small error. The hall erupted in applause. People were amazed that a young girl could outperform a machine worth $500 million. Some of the participants looked at Rena with newfound respect, realizing that careful thinking and creativity were as powerful as speed and calculation. Mr. Malik approached Rena after the round. He smiled, a rare expression for the usually serious CEO. Rena, your mind is remarkable, he said. You have shown that human thinking can achieve extraordinary results. I want to learn from you. Your ideas can help improve our systems and teach others to think creatively. Rena felt proud but also thoughtful. Thank you, sir, she said softly. I practice a lot and like to find patterns. I think carefully and try to solve problems in ways that are not obvious. The CEO nodded. That is exactly what makes your thinking special. I believe we can combine human creativity with technology to achieve great things. As the next puzzle appeared, Rena remained focused. She knew that staying calm, observing carefully and thinking step by step were her greatest strengths. She solved the problem with the same methodical approach, connecting details that others had missed. The supercomputer worked quickly, but it could not account for the imaginative connections Rena had made. When her solution was revealed, it was once again correct. The audience clapped, some cheering loudly, inspired by her skill. By the end of the day, Rena had solved multiple puzzles successfully, consistently showing the value of careful thinking, creativity, and patience. The CEO, engineers, participants, and audience members were all impressed. They realized that intelligence was not just about speed or power. It was also about observation, creativity, and careful reasoning. When the challenge concluded, Mr. Malik approached Rena once more. You have inspired everyone today, he said. I would like to work with you and help others learn the way you think. Your mind is truly extraordinary. Rena smiled, feeling a mix of happiness, pride, and excitement for the future. She knew that this day had changed her life. From a small home and quiet neighborhood, she had reached a stage where her curiosity, patience, and creativity were recognized by the world. She had shown that human intelligence could shine, even against the fastest and most powerful machines. That night, Rena returned home and shared the story with her mother. Mira hugged her tightly. Rena, you have shown that dreams and hard work can take you far, she said. Rena went to sleep feeling proud, knowing that her journey had only just begun and that many more exciting opportunities were waiting for her. After the challenge, Rena's life changed in ways she had never imagined. Mr. Malik, the CEO, invited her to work with the company. He wanted her to help improve the supercomputer by teaching engineers how human thinking could add creativity and imagination to technology. Rena felt both excited and nervous, but she was ready for this new adventure. On her first day at the company, Rena walked through the large building with wide glass walls and bright lights. Engineers were busy at their computers and machines hummed quietly in the background. Rena felt a little small in the enormous space, but she held her head high. She remembered all the puzzles she had solved and all the careful thinking that had brought her here. Mr. Malik introduced her to a team of engineers. This is Rena, he said proudly. She has a unique way of thinking. I want all of you to learn from her ideas. Together we can make technology even better. The engineers looked at her curiously, some smiling politely, some nodding with respect. Rena felt nervous but also confident. She had worked hard, and she knew her mind was ready for this challenge. Rena began by observing how the engineers worked with the supercomputer. She noticed that the machine could calculate millions of numbers quickly, but it often followed strict rules. Rena explained to the team how humans could approach problems differently, using creativity and observation to find solutions that a machine might not predict. She gave simple examples and guided them through small puzzles she had designed. The engineers were impressed. They realized that combining their technology with Rena's approach could make the supercomputer even smarter. Rena smiled quietly to herself. She was helping them see that imagination and careful thinking could improve technology. Her small ideas were already making a big difference. As the weeks passed, Rena created workshops for children and young students. She wanted to teach them how to solve problems, notice patterns, and think creatively. Every workshop was full of excitement and learning. Children loved her ideas and followed her instructions carefully, learning to enjoy puzzles and challenges. Rena felt proud and happy seeing them succeed. She realized that helping others understand how to think was even more rewarding than solving puzzles herself. The company also began to value Rena's suggestions more and more. Engineers started including her ideas in the programs for the supercomputer. They realized that human thinking could guide technology to perform in smarter and more creative ways. Mr. Malik often visited Rena to discuss new strategies, and he learned a lot from her insights. He admired her dedication, patience, and creativity. Rena's story also became famous. People everywhere read about the young girl who had outsmarted a $500 million computer. Her journey inspired children, parents, and teachers alike. Many young students wrote letters to her, asking for advice on how to solve problems and think creatively. Rena responded to each letter with care, encouraging every child to practice, observe, and never give up. Even in her free time, Rena continued to explore puzzles and challenges. She loved discovering new ways to connect ideas and notice patterns. Each day she learned something new, and she shared these discoveries with her classmates, her workshop students, and the engineers she worked with. Her curiosity never stopped, and it continued to open doors for her and for others. One evening, as Rena sat in her small room at home, she looked at her notebooks filled with ideas, sketches, and puzzles. She smiled quietly, thinking about how far she had come. From helping her mother with chores to challenging the world's most powerful computer, her journey had been incredible. She knew that the adventure was not over. There were still more puzzles to solve, more children to teach, and more ways to combine human creativity with technology. Rena realized that intelligence, imagination, and patience could achieve great things. She had shown the world that even a young girl from a small home could inspire change, teach valuable lessons, and make a difference. Her journey was a story of courage, curiosity, and careful thinking, proving that one mind, when determined and creative, could accomplish extraordinary results. Years passed, and Rena's story continued to inspire people everywhere. From the young girl who had outsmarted a $500 million computer, she grew into a thoughtful and confident young woman. Her life remained full of curiosity, learning, and helping others discover the joy of thinking and solving problems. Rena continued to work with the company, but her role had grown much larger. She now led a team of engineers and young students who were eager to learn from her ideas. Together, they explored new ways to make technology smarter. By combining human creativity with computer calculations, Rena loved this work because it allowed her to share her knowledge while still discovering new things herself. The workshops she had started years ago had also grown. Children from all over the city and even from other countries came to learn from Rena. She taught them to notice small details, to think carefully, and to look for creative solutions. Her students loved her simple explanations and the fun ways she presented puzzles. Many of them began solving problems in ways that amazed even experienced teachers. Rena often visited schools and community centers, speaking to children and parents about the power of curiosity and learning. She explained that intelligence is not only about speed or memory, but also about imagination, observation, and patience. People listened carefully to her words because she had already shown them in action that these qualities could achieve extraordinary results. The supercomputer she had once challenged continued to improve, but it now included ideas inspired by Rena. Engineers had learned to include human creativity in their programs, allowing the machine to approach problems in new ways. Rena had shown the company that human insight was an essential part of technology. Her work had changed the way people thought about computers and problem solving. Even with all the recognition, Rena remained humble. She remembered her small home, her mother's encouragement, and the quiet hours she had spent solving puzzles. She knew that her success was built not only on talent, but also on curiosity, dedication, and the support of people who believed in her. She often told her students, never stop asking questions. Every problem has an answer if you look carefully and think creatively. Rena's story also inspired many adults who had once thought they could not learn or explore new ideas. Her message was clear. Learning is for everyone, and intelligence can grow with practice and curiosity. Communities began creating more programs to teach children how to think critically and solve problems creatively, following the example Rena had set. One afternoon, as Rena walked through a park with her notebook in hand, she saw a group of children solving puzzles together. She smiled quietly, remembering her own childhood and the way she had practiced carefully, step by step, to challenge the supercomputer. She realized that those children were the future thinkers, inventors, and leaders, and she felt proud to have helped them discover their own potential. Rena also reflected on her journey from a small home to the halls of a powerful company. She had learned that intelligence is not about machines or money, but about careful thought, creativity, and determination. She had shown the world that even a young girl, with curiosity and dedication, could achieve remarkable things and inspire others to do the same. As the sun set, Rena looked at the glowing lights of the city. She thought about all the puzzles she had solved, the children she had taught, and the lives she had touched. She knew that her journey would continue, because there would always be new problems to solve, new minds to inspire, and new ways to combine human creativity with technology. Rena smiled to herself, feeling a quiet happiness and deep satisfaction. From a small home with simple dreams, she had grown into someone who had changed the way people thought about intelligence, learning, and creativity. Her story was a reminder that curiosity, patience, and careful thinking could open doors to incredible opportunities. And so, Rena continued her journey, inspiring the world with her mind, her heart, and her unwavering belief in the power of human creativity. Her story became a legacy, showing that one determined and curious mind could outthink the greatest machine, and in doing so, change the world forever.